What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. In this lesson we're going to talk on change in state of delivery. So we're going to find out where does the interbank algorithm change in its state of delivery. When do they change from bullish to bearish, or when do they change from bearish to bullish? If you want to find change in state of delivery, one thing you should keep in mind is that you have to find this at key levels. Okay, we have to find change in state of delivery at key levels. You don't have to trade from no man's land. Now, trading from no man's land is simply trading from areas which are not key levels. What you need to note is that there is always change of delivery in price, but the best way to identify change in state of delivery, that if you want to take a trade, are from key levels. Firstly, could be an old high or an old low. So what does that look like? So let's assume that what we have here is an old high. It's your equal highs or your equal lows, and you can actually look for this at Asian range. Now price was pushing to the upside like this. We're having this massive move to the upside. So at this point you see price sweeps that high. Now when price sweeps this particular high, this is what we call a liquidity purge, or we can call it a liquidity sweep, where price takes the stops at the old high or at the high of the Asian range. Now at this point, this is where you're going to get a change in state of delivery. So what this basically means is that price takes this low, which is the change in state of delivery. Remember, the delivery of price at this area was bullish. Okay, price was bullish, moving to the upside. Now we have a sweep of liquidity. Now the change of delivery, price shifts to the downside, taking this particular low right here. This is the shift in state of delivery. Now another thing you should keep in mind is that what we have right here is another block. This series of candle that swept the high, this is actually an order block. So you could look to enter your trade. That is, if you want to go short, you can enter from this area, your stop loss above the high. Then you can go for a quick 1:2. Okay, you can go for a quick 1:2, or you can use your projector to look for level 2 or level 2.5. Now what you can actually do secondly is you could look for a fair value gap, because at some point price might actually leave a fair value gap at this particular area. Okay, so price could leave a fair value gap. Then you could look to trade from this fair value gap to the down, and we could have a refined order block. That is, if you consider zone refinement, you can consider a refined order block which you could trade from. But the way ICT teaches this, you have to enter from the opening price of this order block, this particular order block right here. You have to enter from the opening price, stop loss above the high, then you can project your targets. Now what you need to know is that price is going to retrace into this area and a move to the downside. That is for this particular example. So this is for a bearish example, and it's still the same thing for a bullish example, right? It's just the flip of this. So just like I said, we have two ways entering from key levels. So this particular example is for when price sweeps an old high or sweeps an Asian range. Okay, now another way which you could actually do this is trading from PD array. Okay, in this case, let's say a bearish PD array where price is mitigating an order block or a fair value gap. So let's assume in this case we have a fair value gap right here. Okay, let's assume that this is a fair value gap, so let's label this a fair value gap. Fair value gap is price inefficiency, and what we know is that price usually returns to areas of inefficiency to rebalance price. Now it's pretty the same with what we have here, where we're going to see price pushing to the upside. That is, the delivery of price is bullish. Okay, now price moves into this fair value gap to rebalance some inefficiencies. Okay, price rebalancing inefficiencies inside this fair value gap. Now what you're going to note is we're going to have a shift in state of delivery, where we're going to mark the opening price of this order block, because this candle right here, the series of candles, it could be a single candle and it can actually be a series of candle. So this is our order block right here. Then you could look to enter off that order block, waiting for the retest of this order block. Then you look to trade to the downside. So this is the way it's done, and some might look to trade from a fair value gap, which we might get here, or some might look to trade from an order block. Enter from this order block and project your target, then wait for price to mitigate and displaces to the downside. So this is pretty simple. It's actually very simple and easy. So for a bullish example, like I said, this is just the flip of this, and I'm not going to touch that. So the video doesn't take too long. So let's see a live example which might actually help you understand better. Now let's see what we have here in this example. This is GBP AUD, the 1 hour time frame, and this price action occurred between 9th of November, which is on Thursday. Okay, let's say maybe till around 16th of November. Okay, now if you look at what you have right here, you can clearly see we have the power of trade pattern over here where we see price accumulate, because this is an accumulation right here. If we try to see it clearly, you see that accumulation area we have right here. Over here we see price manipulates to the downside. Now after the manipulation, price actually distributes to the upside. This is not actually what we want to consider, but I just want to point it out so you see it. So now after this manipulation, after the accumulation, manipulation and the distribution, if you try to zoom out, what you're going to see is that price sweeps an old high when it's distributed to the upside. Okay, so now price sweeps the old high. It's actually nice if you try to identify your change in state of delivery. If I play price forward to see what we actually have right here, what are you going to see? You see price continue to distribute to the upside, and now we're getting a pullback to the downside. Now here could be your change in state of delivery. So here is the opening price before the sweep of this old high. Now if you try to mark the opening price, if price closes below here, it's going to be the change in state of delivery. But at this point, what you see, price spikes and retraced back into the range without actually closing below this area, and finally price closed below this low. This can now be considered as a change in state of delivery. This is where the interbank algorithm is changing in their state of delivery, because from what you can see, we're having this bullish move to the upside. I can clearly see that at this point price moves closing below the opening price of this bullish move. So this is an order block right here. So identify this as change in state of delivery. The series of candles, you've seen that this series of bullish candles, this is your order block, even though it can be refined. Okay, but we're not refining in this case. So where is going to be our entry? This area right here is going to be our entry. This opening price, you're going to wait for price to retest the opening price. Once price comes back to retest this area we've marked, is going to be the entry, and we're going to look to trade to the downside. And why trading to the downside? Where could be our possible targets? You can see we have this low right here, this liquidity lows. This could be our target. We could look to target this particular low we have right here and this low. These are good areas which you could look to target. Okay, now another thing you should note, okay, we have another low right here, and this low mitigates this other block before we see this push to the upside. Now you can look to take your profits at this particular area right here. This could be a very good place you could look to take your profit target. Now let's press price forward and see what you have. Now price moves away. You see price moves away, and it has failed to retest this order block. And now what you can see, price comes back, retest this order block. So this is a very nice entry if you want to take this trade. Now you want to look to trade to the downside. Now let's increase the speed of this so this video don't take too long, and let's see how this plays out. I see price retraced, mitigates the order block, and you see how price moves massively to the downside. And now what you can see, price comes back to retest another block right here. We have another block right here, because see we have a valid break of structure right here. Now we have another shift in state of delivery. At this point, you see price takes this high, which is a change in state of delivery. Now it comes back, didn't retest this, but it comes deeper to mitigate a refined order block right here. Now you see price moves away. So now pay attention to what we have right here. A sweep of old high, change in state of delivery, retest of the order block, and moves away to the downside. I hope you can clearly see that. Let me show you another example. Now let's round up with this particular example. Now from this point, what we're seeing is price is pushing to the upside, and where is price drawing back to? Which liquidity area is price drawing back to? If you look closely, you're going to see that price is drawing back to this fair value gap we have right here. So this is why I said you should trade from a key level. Okay, price is drawing back to this fair value gap we have right here. First one, price has to sweep an old high, an old low, or an Asian high or an Asian low. Now at this point, what we're seeing price doing is drawing back to this key level, this bearish PD array, the fair value gap we have right here. Now we're seeing some slow price action right here after price sweeps this high right here. After price sweeps the high, we have slow price action. Now let's see how this actually plays out right now. Price hits this fair value gap, rebalancing the inefficiency we have right there, and now you see price displaced to the downside, but no change in state of delivery yet. Price has to take this opening price before this can be considered as a change in state of delivery. What price did is spikes and close back inside the range, similar to the first example we considered. Now price closed below this opening price, and what you should note is that this series of candles that swept this high and rebalances this inefficiency is actually an order block. But what you should note, which if you watch me on this channel, what you should notice is I usually refine it down to the last candle before this displacement. I usually refine it because of risk management and how I manage my trade. But this is actually your order block right here, and you expected to enter from the retest of this level right here, and you can project your targets. Now price comes back into this fair value gap. Didn't just retest this, instead it pulls back deeply to rebalance this inefficiency right here, so there is no need for price to come back, retest the inefficiency, possibly mitigating a refined order block, and you see price starts to move away. This is a simple way to take advantage of change in state of delivery. I didn't actually want to show a lot of example because I don't want this lesson to take a lot of time. This is not just understanding where the interbanks algorithm change in each state of delivery, but I'm actually showing you the right areas you could look for this and take advantage of it. Okay, so that's it, and I hope this particular lesson was helpful. If this lesson was actually helpful, you can consider liking the video and try to help grow this channel. Okay, now what price did is push to the downside, comes back, retest another block right here, and it pushed to the downside once more. So that's it, and I hope you got value. Like I said, consider subscribing to the channel if you're new to the channel to watch more contents like this one.